Well, thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. You know, one of the things I've noticed as I position myself strategically on my slide, one of the things I've noticed as a vice president of education, at the end of every meeting, of course, I go through and I try to fill all the roles. And when I get to speakers, I'll say, who would like to be our speakers next week, or who would like to get a speech next week? I am greeted with, it's like my screen has frozen, just blank stares from people, which is not what we hope for when we join a Toastmaster club. This is a speaking club, not a listening club, as I've said before. I look at it as kind of a vocal gym where you can come and work out. And if you aren't giving speeches at a Toastmaster club, it's kind of like showing up and working out like this guy. It's not what we show up here to do. So I thought, why is this the case? And then I thought, well, maybe people are hung up on the fact that writing a speech can be difficult. I mean, if you're giving a presentation for your job, or if you're writing a TED Talk or something like that, you have to spend some time writing it. But when it comes to a Toastmaster club, we are really here to work out. We're not here to deliver the Gettysburg Address or the second I Have a Dream speech. We're here to basically give speeches and practice the art of public speaking. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, if you want to look at it that way. Or as Confucius said, better a diamond with a flaw than a pebble without. Or Shakespeare put it this way, striving to be better, oft we mar what's well. Or as Nike puts it, you got to just do it. So I think we need to spend less time thinking about speeches and more time delivering those speeches. I think I said that. Public speaking or presenting is something that needs to be practiced in public. It's kind of in the name. It's public speaking. Now, I know a lot of us, including me, will rehearse at home. I've delivered some magnificent performances in the privacy of my own home. I mean, it's great to be able to get the timing down and see how everything's working. But to actually give a speech, you need to be able to include the audience. When the audience enters the equation, things change. And that's what we really need to practice. I believe that anyone can write a really good speech quickly. And if you learn that ability, hopefully you will be more likely to stand and deliver when I say, who would like to give a speech next week? So let's take a look at it. Here's all you need, really. You need a topic. And it doesn't have to be the cure for cancer. It doesn't have to be anything very important. As a matter of fact, I think it is better if it's something that is boring, a boring topic, such as brown carpeting, as we'll talk about in a moment. Then you have to organize the information. The whole idea is to take the audience from point A, where they are, to point B, where you would like them to be at the end of your speech. In the case of this speech tonight, I want to take all those people that haven't been giving speeches, and at the end of this speech, hopefully have them stand and say, yes, I would like to give that speech next week. Now, there are a lot of different structures. You need a structure. It's a way to organize the information. Jerry Wiseman, this legendary speech coach, has 16 different flow structures that he has in his book, Presenting to Win. There's the chronological, the modular, a whole bunch of them. There's also the Toastmaster structure, where you tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. I find that a bit redundant. I mean, it's good when you're beginning. I mean, it is a structure you can use, but it's a little difficult to build some intrigue into the speech if you're telling them and telling them and telling them. So I prefer what they call the premise structure, or the Fripp model. Now, Patricia Fripp is this legendary speech coach, and she uses this instead and swears by this particular model. Here it is. First of all, a premise is a clear statement of the idea you are selling, and a statement that causes the audience to ask how or why. For instance, my premise could be, I think anybody could become an amateur brain surgeon. And you would say, really, Steve, how is that? Or I could say, my favorite color is blue. And you'd say, really, Steve, why is blue your favorite color? That's the idea here. Once you have your premise, then you need to support that argument, support that point with 3 supporting points. They can be examples, they can be stories, they can be charts or graphs or quotes or research or whatever, but you want to be able to support that premise, make that case, make your argument, and then you want to close. I think opening the speech should be the last thing you write, because the open should grab the audience's attention. It should introduce your topic and your premise. And it's a little difficult to introduce your speech if you really haven't written it yet. So the open should be the last thing you do. Shall we give it a spin? We'll take it out for a spin and see how this works. I used the example of the brown carpeting earlier, right? You could say that brown carpeting isn't the most exciting thing in the world to talk about. So let's make that the topic. If it's difficult to make the topic exciting, it's a heavier lift in the gym, right? So my premise could be, I think everybody should have brown carpeting, to which you would say, really, Steve, why? And I'd say, well, supporting point number one, there are many, many shades of brown. Just go on the Sherwin-Williams paint site and look at all of the various shades of brown. There is Mesa brown, and there's tan, and there's beige, and Pueblo, and Turkish coffee, all of these beautiful shades of brown. So you have a lot to choose from. Point number two, by the way, dirt is brown. So if you don't want your carpet to show the dirt, maybe the carpet should be brown as well. You throw some specks in there, things like that. You could run a herd of buffalo through your living room and still your carpet is going to look great. And finally, brown is an earth tone. It goes with everything. It goes with blue, and it goes with orange, it goes with yellow, green, all these colors, so it really can bring the room together. So if you want to be happy with your home, you should have brown carpeting. Now, that's the simple structure. To introduce that, you could tell a story. You could say, for instance, I had a friend who was very unhappy. He was always depressed. And so I went over to his house one day and I looked and I said, well, there's your problem. The color of your carpeting is wrong. You need brown carpeting. Because I believe everybody should have brown carpeting in their home. And then I'd go through the supporting points. Then I could even bring that story in at the end and I could say, you know what? He called up Empire. He ordered brown carpeting and he has been living the dream. He has had a phenomenal life because he chose the right carpeting in his home. Obviously an absurd example, but you get the point. Now, what I'm going to do is I've written actually a blog post on this, which is called, incidentally, How to Write a Really Good Speech Quickly. It includes the format that I just went through and a lot of different resources that I used to come up with this and illustrate this whole thing. So I'm going to be sending that out to all of you, and you will be able to use this particular format if you would like to write a really good speech quickly. And hopefully at the end of this meeting, when I say who would like to give a speech next week, you will all be raising your hand. Mr. Toastmaster.
Wow. I would have paid good money for that speech.